TPS.
Oh yeah.
I guess
For
while
now.
you're here, Kaylee, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah.
You want to talk about how all blocks raise the
Oh
map
yeah,
height?
yeah. Basically, just every block now raises height map. So like, I don't know. It seems like a deliberate change, but it's a really bad one. So like, you can put a block panel of glass at 255, and it will raise your sub chunk. Well, it's not sub chunk anymore, is it? It's I don't remember. I don't know what the actual symbol's
Well,
called.
they
Yeah.
still have basically subchunks as a data structure. It doesn't. It's not
Yeah, sub chunks are still a data structure.
considered for spawning though.
Yeah, but it's not. So like, yeah, so like before you could have like your glass AFK spot over your mob farm, and now you can't because every block raises a sub chunk.
Well, yeah. So the way that the spawning algorithm used to work is it was based on the light map.
Yep.
But that was when lighting was done in the main thread. And since lighting's now done in its own thread, they can't use the light map anymore to determine where to spawn mobs. So they use the height map instead, and then they tweaked some probabilities in order to get it to be approximately the same as it was in 12. But now you put a glass block and the height map doesn't care what kind of block it is.
Which is a
And I
bug.
think see, the thing is, it's one of those things kind of we're better off with the lighting thread. Most people say you should multi-thread Minecraft, and they don't know what they're talking about. Okay, but this is one of those ones where I agree with the decision to do lighting in its own thread, and now we don't have the massive lag caused by lighting updates. I mean, yeah, maybe it would have been possible to optimize the lighting, spread it out over time. There's all kinds of things that could have been done, but it's one of those ones that kind of makes sense to do in its own thread. But the drawback is that we can't rely on light map anymore for things like mob spawning. So
Yeah, and there's probably like a different way they could do it. Like see if mobs could spawn on the block and then add it to it.
what are you doing to poor Kaylee? It's like
I was testing out.
no hating on Kaylee. Poor Kaylee.
So how do you think they should solve this problem with the light map?
I'm not sure they can or should.
I would simply make it look at the type of block, because at the moment I actually don't know what it does. I know in 112 it simply got the highest sub chunk that was. Oh, there's actually quite a lot of bugs in 112 spawning. No one noticed because no one looked at the code. But yeah. So, for example, in 112 it'll actually try and spawn mobs outside the world quite often. Yeah. But in general, I don't know, I would just say you have to make it like not have transparent blocks raise spawning level.
Yeah, that
Because they're
seems like
spawn
something they
proof
could check
anyway.
for.
Yeah, I mean,
You could
if
special
they're-
case that maybe. But see, the thing is, there's a reason that they have a height map, which has to do with the way chunks are stored.
yeah, extended storage.
Right. There you go. And so what they've done is they just piggybacked on that existing mechanism to decide, how to generate random numbers for deciding where to spawn things.
Like if there was a block in it, then it's gonna save it. You're saying.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's going to count that.
What about if there's an entity in it?
Yes, I think, but entities
I'm
get
not.
saved.
I think entities are stored per chunk, and
Yeah. Oh yeah, entities are stored per chunk, but extended.
it's just a list. Yeah. They don't store it in.
So
Yeah,
entities wouldn't affect
subchunks.
this.
No,
No.
entities are like in a list in the chunk.
So yeah, so what they'd have to do is something that might be expensive or not. I don't know, but I think it might be expensive to keep track of what
think it
you know which sub chunks have transparent blocks in them and not count them towards deciding where to spawn mobs.
Well,
So the reason that this affects anything is that the game doesn't to check all the for all the spawnable surfaces would be computationally too expensive. So it just generates random coordinates and then checks to see if those coordinates are spawnable. They might be in the middle of blocks, they might be in the middle of the air. And so they're going to go from 0 to some maximum. And that maximum used to be from the lighting calculations, and now it's just the highest block coordinate. And so you just generate a random number between 0 and that. And I lost track of what I was talking about.
I think I understand.
Yeah, how height map was used in mob spawning previously. So
Right. The lighting map. Right. And so with lighting, the glass didn't affect it. But
So it's
yeah.
it's like
My point, though, the point I was going to make is that if in order to determine what the height map was that wasn't affected by transparent blocks, that could be computationally expensive, right? It might defeat the whole point, right? So
perhaps.
it depends. I mean, because they could do it, online, like when you place and remove blocks, but then World Gen is weird.
Well, what they did actually was originally because it's per column. It's always been per column, yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, you can just generate X, Y, and then iterate up that column until or iterate down that column from highest extended block storage you've got until you hit an opaque block. That runs in linear time and is very cheap. It's like
Wait, you want to check all the? So
Yeah,
that's what's
yeah.
expensive
No, but it's
is doing get block state.
No, but you don't have to get. Oh crap! Yeah, because before it was. Yeah,
You have to do get block state like pretty much the whole chunk.
but we could. Yeah, but we could load chunks like that. Dude.
So
oh god, no, that'd be awful. That would be awful.
yeah, you don't want to decode the whole chunk.
Mob spawning would be like loading chunks of crap.
No, it'd be much worse.
No,
because,
it would. It would load chunks all the time.
Well, it might. But put that aside. If you, man, I am
hey man,
falling
Rock,
asleep.
great to see you in chat.
Blame the kids, right?
Yeah, well, a long day at work and everything. So,
Hey, Damo.
so when you load a chunk, you're just loading the data, like the encoding in the palette, the block palette. But if you want to do a get block, you actually have to decode it. So there's a bunch of bit shifts and the lookup and bit shift, and then you got to look it up in the palette to determine what the block is. And that's computationally more expensive because like the chunk loading also is done asynchronously.
Yeah. Well.
So you'd have to scan the whole chunk when it's loading. You'd have to decode every block.
You could always just maintain an old-style height map.
Well, yeah, okay. So when World Gen is also expensive, and you'd have to basically scan.
But it would run asynchronously on the light thread because it doesn't really matter.
Well, so that's the problem is you don't want to be doing. If we were okay with doing things asynchronously on the lighting thread, then we could use the light map.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't actually matter because it's fast enough anyway, and B, I can't think of a single situation where you would be changing the light map where you. Okay, no, I can think of a lot. Yeah. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was being an idiot.
So currently
Okay,
now
well,
you'd have
welcome to being me, right? Sorry, go ahead.
so the currently you have to kind of make sure everything in the area is kind of down low. Otherwise, it's just gonna do. There's just gonna be more places where it could check.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
Pretty much you can't. Yeah, pretty much you now need to AFK below mob farms. Major takeaway.
Let's say you stack up AFK above
Be
it, but
below-
you're on a single pillar that
Yeah, so-
not
so you
technically
lose
over top
some-
of your farm.
Yeah, so you end up losing some pack spawning efficiency. Major tragedy.
That is
The whole-
unfortunate.
A whole bunch of the spawn attempts will fail. A lot more will fail because it will generate Y coordinates that are over a larger range.
But
Even
only
if
in
it's
that
just one
range.
column.
Yeah.
Yeah, but only in that column.
Oh, okay.
Because- Yeah.
So-
It's
So what if this column's
so it'll
outside
be-
of your
it'll be-
farm?
It'll be
if columns
bad
outside
for
the
the
doesn't matter.
so it'll be bad for the one chunk you're standing in,
Not
but
even
for the
chunks.
neighboring chunks, then it won't. Then the spawning will be okay. right?
It won't even be for chunks. It's just for one block. Because what the
No.
code has always done is it
Right.
first generates X and Z, then it gets the height of column XZ, and then uses that for the next in for the Y. In 112, it's like this.